Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to go over battery safety, things to look for your batteries, when to replace them, and also some techniques and tools to show you how to actually replace the wraps for the batteries as well.
We are also going to actually go through a walkthrough on how to change the wrap. As you can see, this battery is pretty chewed up. This is what a battery should look like, so we're going to make it look all nice again.
Plus, we'll also go over some of the batteries that you should and shouldn't use for certain devices as well. There are several different versions, and we'll basically go over that for you as well. So let's get cracking.
Alright guys, so when it comes to batteries, you have a lot of different options depending on what mod you're using. You can go from really tiny to like 14,500s all the way to 26,650s. There are different styles and different companies who make them, like eFest or LG. The other big one is Samsung. If you're using like mech mods and stuff like that, there are things called button tops. Button tops are going to be a little bit different. As you can see, this has a nice little button up top, and a regular battery is just going to have a nice big positive connection. When it comes to batteries, there are going to be different discharge rates. Like for example, the 26650 is 20 amp continuous and 50 amp pulse. With bigger batteries, you are going to get a longer milliamp hour, which essentially means is how long the battery is going to last, depending on what wattage you're using and depending on what ohm level you're using. So for example, like the 26650 battery I have here is 4200 mAh. So this is going to be for something like the Wismec Preza or like a big mech mod that uses something like this. But most commonly, you are going to use 18650s, which are going to look like this. Looks like a AA, but they're going to be wrapped different colors. Like I have yellow here. This is an LG. We also have Samsungs, and they're going to typically be green. Some companies do have different styles of battery. Like I said, this is an LG. This is a 25 amp pulse battery. And then we do have another LG, which is called an LG Brownie. These are the ones that I prefer because they are high drain batteries. So they're going to be 3000 milliamp hours. So actually it's going to last you a long time. I use them in my Relo, stuff like that. And then these are also high drain batteries. This is an MXJO. These are 35 amp continuous. So they're going to last a really long time. And again, they are 3000 milliamp hours. These are really going to be the ones that you're going to use in most modern devices. The button tops, like I said, they're going to be using for more mech mods, something that you need a little bit higher of a positive connection to make the mech mod work. That way you avoid hot button or arcs from the battery to the 510 pin. These little guys, these were used for telescoping mods, so the ones that actually screwed down and made a connection. Something like this is going to be a 18500 battery. As you can see there, it's 1100 milliamp hour. And then this is actually another MXJO. This is another 18500, and this is 1000 milliamp hour. That is pretty much just a quick rundown of all different types of batteries. You can go more in depth to like what each battery does, what ones are better for different devices, and what ohm level you are working with.
Alright, so essentially a battery like this is not very acceptable. As you can see, I kind of roughed this up to kind of prove a point, is whenever your battery starts fraying at the top or on the bottom or even in the centers, you generally do not want this. What could potentially happen is it makes it very unsafe, because if it connects to anything else, it could actually potentially arc the battery and cause lethal side effects, in all honesty. So whenever your batteries look like this, generally it's good to either reskin it, which we have here, which is a PVC liner, which you will need in order to remove this. I have a tool to basically cut this down the center without actually damaging the outer shell of the battery. And then you are going to need something like this, which this right here is an insulator ring. You can reuse the insulator rings on this if they're within fairly good standing. I generally like to replace it as a whole because at that point it's more of a safety thing at my personal reasoning. And the nice thing is this one is actually adhesive. It has an adhesive that actually sticks to the top of the battery, so you don't have to worry about it shifting, coming out, or anything like that. And then you're also going to be using something like this. I mean, this is a little more than your average heat gun. You can pick them up relatively cheap. They're about 20 bucks. Most of this stuff you can find on Amazon or eBay, relatively cheap. It's even cheaper if you buy it in bulk. But in essence, this is all you really need in order to change out this outer shelling. One thing I do want to mention before I actually get to work on this is if your battery is dented on the top of the flat surface or even on the bottom where it's been dented regardless, it is very highly recommended to replace your battery because in essence, it's not making proper contact and it could actually cause more problems on the cells that are internally on the inside of this battery. So other than that, I'll just go ahead and get right down to it. This is, I like to call it the claw, because what I'll do is I'll actually dig in on this. You can actually wedge it in here and pick it open. And I like to just click it in a couple places and then you can just peel it almost like a banana in essence. And it does come right off. It is just like a plastic wrap, but it is non-conductive. So the reason why they're all on there is because you don't want it to arc. This one is an adhesive as well. If it's in good standing, you can still use it. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and replace it. You're going to want to kind of clean off the top of it. You can just use your fingers to kind of clean it off. If there's always, whenever you remove this skin, always kind of re-look over the battery itself to make sure there's not any external damage to the side of the batteries itself. And other than that, if it looks good, then you're kind of in the clear to go. What I'll do here is I'll take the insulator and then I just kind of use my fingers to guide it, make sure that it's on there properly, nice and square. And then just push down to make sure that it's on there. And set that off to the side. I'll set that there. And then the nice thing is with this too is normally these are kind of stuck together. You can kind of take the claw. I like to swap it open like that. And then basically just insert it like such. You're going to want to, sometimes these will actually come a little bit longer than needed. So you can just cut off a couple centimeters on one side and you should be relatively good to go. So what you'll want to do is actually make sure that it's kind of in the center of the wrap. You don't want too much on the bottom and you don't want too much on the top because from personal experience, when doing this, when you heat it up, if there's too much of the bottom over here on the bottom on the negative, when it heats up, it won't make a full contact. It'll actually create some kind of a gap and it just doesn't transfer correctly. Same goes for the top. You just want to make sure that it overlaps on both sides relatively evenly. And then you can actually set it to a certain degree on these heat guns. I mean, I have it set already. Relatively, you don't want it too hot because unless you're wearing gloves, you will take the skin off in most honesty. But in essence, it's relatively quick. Just let it heat up a little bit. You know that it's warm. And it's relatively quick. You want to kind of do it evenly, kind of go up the sides and over the top. And in all essence, that's pretty much it for that. One little tip that I do whenever I'm working with married batteries or anything like that, and especially if you have a massive collection of batteries like myself or other enthusiasts do, you know who you are. What I like to do is I'll actually get different colors of the PVC piping, or well, not piping, but the skins, and I'll actually cut out different sizes and different colors, and I'll actually add in a secondary segment on the battery itself so I can actually identify which batteries go to what. Similar to the way that I did it before. If I can get that in there. Come on. Ah! Come on, dude. In essence, you'll just get the skim like such. And you put it in like that. And in essence, you'll heat it up just like such, and then there you have an identified battery, and you're pretty much set to rock and roll. And like I said, it's even on both sides for the most part, and you have yourself a perfect wrap. Alright guys, that pretty much sums it up for this week's tutorial on battery safety and pretty much some of the stuff that you're going to end up using. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to leave it in the comments below.
Remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment in the section below, and we'll go over what you guys want to go over.
Thanks for watching.